Now the world is a different place if you're starting wedding photography in
that's
2018 as opposed to 2010. In this case, when you have to be an entrepreneur with zero money and you have to market something, where do you start?
Profitability is not the revenue, right? Like what you're getting paid from the client is not the profit.
All led to one thing, that you need to have money to create a marketing campaign, to create a brand. It feels like this is the one big decision that you've taken in your adult life, outside of your marriage. This is the one call you took by yourself. And you said, I will plant a flag here and I will hope it flies, right? I would love for the guy or the girl who's about to start a business to think of these things and say, am I geared for this? Do I have the requisite people skills?
Hi guys, this is something that I'm trying for the first time, and it's something very new to me, and I said let's give it a try. So Joshua is in city, is come to Chennai, and we wanted to do something interesting, something very new that we have not done before. So we decided we'll make a video. So thanks Joshua, thanks for doing
Glad
this.
to be here. Yeah.
How's Chennai?
Chennai is great. Yeah. Lovely weather.
You've lived here, right?
I've lived here. I've lived here for a year.
Super. See, wedding photography is one of the in things now. There are so many students, so many IT graduates, IT consultants, and people working in so many different fields want to get into this. Want to ride this popular bandwagon now. So, how do you see it? What is the advice you have for somebody who wants to quit from what they're doing now and then get into, or for students who want to get into wedding photography?
So we were discussing this earlier because this has become the new, I want to be a musician or I want to be a rock star kind of thing, right?
Or this has become a new, I want to be an engineer.
I want to be an engineer, then that we're really in trouble. No, I think it's become like a good possible escape from the drudgery of corporate life, from being shackled to a desk, from being employed, from working under someone else, and to owning your own business or everything, right? So yes, there's a lot of interest in the field and a lot of people want to get in, but with time and with all the time that we have spent, that Joe and I and the Stories team have spent, there are a few things that have become clear to us over time. But before I get to that, what do you think? What would you tell?
So see, it's the same journey for me, right? I was in IT. I was working in IT for 6 years, and then I quit and got into this. But so many people are not understanding what went behind it, right? It was not an overnight process. I just got up and then said, okay, I'm taking a wedding photography. It was a process which took years, right? Even before quitting and taking it full time, I was doing it part time. I got to know what is involved in it. Is it something that I would really love to do day in and day out? Can I make money through it? Can I make a living through it? Is a process, is a journey by itself, which took years, not just months, or it was not just a sudden decision. And also, a lot of planning went behind this decision, right? Which helped me make some amazing decisions after I took it, right? So I didn't just get up and say, oh, I'm going to quit everything and then start this. So I planned for it. I told my family that give me this one year time. I'm going to try it and see if it works out. So for that 1 year, I saved money. How did I save it? I lived a frugal life for 2-3 years. Saved wherever I can and put all that money for the savings. Like I was not ready to do free projects. I was not ready to do projects for very less. Saying that I'll get through this and then go to a better project. I chose my projects because I had my savings for that 1 year. Not only that, I kept my options open. So I told my boss, hey, I'm trying this for 1 year. If it doesn't work out, I want to come back. Right. So that was like you say, it's like a parachute, jumping into it with a lot of parachutes. So with all this, right, I was able to, make a proper calculated decision, which helped me in setting up the business, which helped me grow in the first few years, which is going to be very stressful. So I would say, if you're somebody who's out there thinking of doing this, ask yourself what are the option B's. Just do not, not take up campus interviews. Just do not say, hey, IT is boring. Just after doing 1 year, just for 1 year, right? Keep your options open. So that will be my biggest thing. Keep your options open.
So what I hear from you is that you are very disciplined about it, right? In terms of recognizing that yes, this is not just an escape from your current corporate life, but this has to be a viable career option for you. That you're not in this for the first year or the second, but you're in this for the 10th and for the 20th year. When once you start casting this decision of getting into wedding photography or whatever business, what have you, to get into it, then your thought process to change. Then you'll be more careful in jumping ship. You will look for those parachutes before you open the plane door and just leap, right? So I think if I were to tell someone who's just about to start out or who's currently in a corporate job and wants to quit right away because this is a bad Monday, I need to I can do so much better on my own. I respect that, but then you need to understand that this is a decision for a significant span of time. You're talking of the next 10 years or the next 20 years of your life. If that's the case, you have to recognize that if today you're sitting at a corporate desk, you're sitting there because you spent 13, 14, 15, 16 years in education gearing up for this one role, whatever that role may be. You have gone through school and college to be the perfect employee because that's what our education system gears us up for. Whereas you're saying, I'll give it all up, I'll become an entrepreneur overnight without having gotten educated for 16 years in that process, right? So I love it when you tell me that, yes, when I realized that I wanted to be a wedding photographer, I started to plan for it 2 to 3 years in advance. Because then, you start looking at not just the monies that you need to start a business, you also start to look at the life skills that you require to survive, right? To progress, to push through, to grow, which I think is critical. And when people ping me on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, saying that, sir, I want to become a wedding photographer, what is your advice? My biggest advice would be to stop and think and consider that you're giving up what you've trained for to do something you're not trained for. Yes, you can do it, but then you have to recognize this first and say that yes, I do need to get trained, I do need to get educated, not just in the photography part of it, which is the obvious part, but in terms of everything else, because you're giving up all the safety of a corporate structure that pays your salary every month to come to a place where you have to make money every month. So I want to talk about one thing, because I think Amar started in 2010. So Joseph started in 2010. So I joined him in 2012. The story's company is turning 6 this year. Now the world is a different place if you're starting wedding photography in 2018 as opposed to 2010, right? Back in the day, while it was still not the Wild West, you still had a fair amount of flexibility in terms of how you could get your resources, how much things would cost if you were to put together a group of people and do something and so on. But in 2018, everything is super expensive, right? From the get-go, talent is expensive as it should be, and I think it should get even more expensive. People should charge more for their services. Technology has gotten more expensive, which is fair because it does way more than it used to in 2010, right? And so has the cost of servicing and the cost of setting up. Buying a domain name is the cheap part of it. Getting a Facebook page is the cheaper part of it. The expensive part is to get the talent and the skills and the resources and the tools and to make sure that you deliver on a wedding, right? When you do this, you have to recognize that in 2018, profitability is a big problem, especially when you're starting out early and you don't have a portfolio to show, you don't have too many weddings to show. And since your price is linked to both your quality of work and your experience, both of which are suspect in your first year of work, your ability to price is going to be very low, which means that your profitability is hurt, which means that if you're running a second job and you're doing this as a part-time thing and someone's paying you a salary, it's doable. But once you quit that job and this becomes your only source of income, then you have to really worry about it.
Yes.
Which is where I love the fact that you said that you took 3 years, you saved money because you knew that there was no free payday in that first year, right? Whatever money you were making was actually going out because you were making payments to vendors. And that's something that I would really tell anyone who's starting out right now to look into, because it's super critical for you to understand the economics of the business before you quit just because you're good at photography or just because everyone loves the work you do and they're all telling you, dude, why are you working? Why you come into work? You are so talent, you should quit. You should definitely go and start something. And we look up to you for inspiration. That's all good. Take the inspiration, go back home, put it in a box, start saving money, start working on the economics, start looking at profitability from day one.
And also in 2010 it is one of the unique stories, right? It's not unique anymore. So many people are doing it.
True.
And also one of the reason behind the success was it was unique.
Yeah.
The market needed it. Market needed a unique thing, and we gave something unique. So it was successful. Will that be the same level at that same level now? Is a question, because it's not unique anymore. Millions of other people are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So now that somebody has already come in and are in a question, are in a dilemma whether to create a team like Studio A or Stories, or do they want to go, alone? What do you have for that? What is the advice?
So I mean, at PEP, I get an opportunity to speak to a lot of photographers, either people who have just started recently, or people who are about to start, or even people who spent 5, 6, 7 years in the business, or even longer. I met people with 15, 20 years of experience. And when you ask an average group of people, let's say you pick 30 people and ask them, what are the skills that you require to last in the wedding photography business or do good things? People come back with photography, art, craft. Business, you need business skills to run. What people fail to say, and I wish they would say, and what I have come to realize along with Joe, is that you need people skills. You need people skills to run a team. And that's not to say that you just need to be nice to everyone or mean to everyone. You really need skills to make that work. And we don't seem to recognize that often. And I find that the average 22-year-old is probably not equipped to handle that, unless there are some caveats there, right? Unless you are naturally gregarious as a personality, unless you are already working on team events and all the stuff that happens in college. If you're like super into, then you know how to deal with people. Let's say you come from, I have a bias, I tend to think that people from joint families seem to figure this out better, because lots of cousins, same age group, older people, younger people. Now, people are just starting out corporate careers without all these things, and who want to quit and then start a team, don't realize that there's a significant burden with regard to the people skill that's involved, right? And I would advise that you should wait to gain those skills: empathy, ability to listen, the ability to make a fair judgment, to sit with people, to resolve conflict, a whole bunch of other stuff that the successful people I know are doing on a daily basis without realizing it. I would love for the guy or the girl who's about to start a business to think of these things and say, am I geared for this? Do I have the requisite people skills? Now, this is not one of those things where you're either born with it or not. You can learn this. You can learn this, you can nurture this. Working with a team in your corporate career will help you. Dealing with people older than you may not be comfortable for you,
so,
but you have
so
to
much
learn
of knowledge that you and I or Joseph have got
completely
from the corporate life.
Completely agree. So I used to work with Asian Paints. I worked there for 8 years, and one of the biggest takeaways for me is in working with people, in dealing with people who are both older than me and younger than me, and trying to figure out how to maintain a fair balance, right? And those skills are invaluable. I could not teach you in a day what those 8 years have taught me. I'm not saying that it will take 8 years for everyone, maybe I'm a bit slow, but at least it will take a few years for you to get to that point. So, to answer your question, should I start a team today, the day I quit my job, would depend on your ability to handle people. And if you can't, that's fine, right? You can start off freelancing, you can start off second shooting. You don't have to take the burden on of a team right away, I think.
So see, what you're coming from is a business standpoint, right? Like what I'm coming from as a photographer standpoint, as an artistic standpoint, you have to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? Right? First, I think many a times people are forgetting that why. Why did they get into this? So they went, they loved photography, they enjoyed doing pictures, they thought that they're doing some unique work and all that, and they wanted to give something unique to the industry, and they got into this because they want to do this day in and day out, right? But then after they got into it, they got stuck into this entire wheel of team, clients asking this, clients want this and all that, and then they forget why did they come into this field, right? So the biggest thing for me is, as a photographer, you have to ask why. What do you want to do? Are you somebody who came into this to do some amazing pictures, amazing quality of work, award-winning work and all that? Then do you want to handle that stress of the team, videographers, photographers, albums and all these other things? Do you want to complicate yourself? And also, what are you getting after complicating this? Like, how much more money are you making? See, many times you say this, like, profitability is not the revenue, right? Like, what you're getting paid from the client is not the profit.
Yeah.
What you're making out of it after paying out everybody, accounting for the time that you spent on the project and all that is something that you're. So for me as a photographer, would I rather do 2 or 3 projects where I'm just going and shooting candid photographs and coming out, or am I making more money by pulling a team, like pulling contractors and taking them to the wedding and doing it? So you have to ask, you have to know how much exactly you're making extra, right? So as a photographer, I would say to improve your quality and all that, start alone, doing amazing pictures, amazing work, create a portfolio. Then you can slowly build a team, and then you will think of all the other things, right? One of the things that Joseph and I have is a very good team now, so they take care of all the back end things. Me and Joseph are still going as photographers, only thinking of this pictures that we want to make, so it eases the process, right? So but for somebody who's beginning, are they going to get this is very tough. Is something that you have to ask yourself.
While there is a segment of people who decide that they're very passionate about photography, therefore they will quit their job and then take up wedding photography, I know of a lot of cases where people have shot, let's say, a friend's birthday or somebody's event or a cousin's wedding, and they posted pictures and people love them, and one thing led to another, and before they knew it, they got 4 weddings, and now it feels very attractive. Oh, I got 4 weddings without looking, so if I started looking, imagine how many weddings I'd get. Then you quit your job, then you get in, then you're surrounded by all the noise from just those things, the unplanned gigs that have come to you. At which point you're not a team, so you're running everything yourself. Your days are crazy, your backlogs in terms of your emails you need to respond to, the inquiries that people are sending. If you're lucky and inquiries are coming in, you may not even be able to respond to them. Your older clients might still have delivery pending. You might need to look at the video guys, maybe someone's not taking their calls. Data is missing, this is happening, that, all that noise to try and figure out how to run things better, how to gain peace, how to grow. These are very tough questions. And in all this, one of the things that is easy to miss is the idea of profit. Because in a lot of cases, at least as far as I'm concerned, I went through 16 years of education without ever having been taught the concept of money.
Like everybody is, right?
Like, because that's where I think we're ideally trained to be employees, because we don't need to question where the money comes from or how much comes in, etc.
Yeah.
Your payslip tells you everything, and there's the predictability to it, there's growth, there's increments, all that stuff. That is understandable. The minute you have to stop that flow and then figure out how money works and understand the difference between revenue and profit, then it's a different ballgame altogether. But then to even do that in the middle of all this noise is tough. So I get it. If you're out there, you're watching this video and you're currently running a photography studio, company or a team, or you quit your job, you're already out there, you're doing this stuff. Even if you're not quit your job, right? If you're confusing revenue with profit, I understand. That's because we are not taught to see the difference. Yeah. Once you understand the difference, a lot of these choices cannot be made. You can't hire 6 people for a wedding. You can't give 20% discounts because you don't have any money to give.
You cannot throw away albums.
You can't throw in freebies. Chalo, what do you want? You want to negotiate with me? Take 5 albums extra.
Take a couple shoot.
Right. I'll give you a pre-wedding shoot, because so there are 2 things that we miss in the noise of the typical wedding photography studio or company. One is the concept of money, which is difficult to grasp normally, and it's even more difficult when you're in a noisy environment. The second is the concept of the value of your time. The number of people that I have met, and we also have been subject to it, and slowly we've started to come out of it. The number of people who don't value each hour that they spend on a project is nuts. There's people out there who are telling me that their profit calculations are, I have hired 10 people, so I paid 100 rupees for them. I got 120 rupees from the client, so 20 rupees profit. How much time did you spend on it? I'm the owner, na? I don't count my time. I have given my life to this. That's not the way it works. So once you start valuing your time, then you question this. Can I do a free couple shoot? Can I throw in a freebie? Can I do this? Can I do that? A lot of these answers are no, you cannot. So I think people need to recognize that there are these bigger concepts that they need to learn. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I don't think this is like a scare video to like frighten you away from this. It's a beautiful world. It's a lovely place where you can set your own schedules. You get creative satisfaction. You learn a lot. But then you got to go in with your eyes open, right? You don't go in with your eyes closed, assuming that it's all a bed of roses. You have to understand that there are big things to be learned, right?
See, the whole idea of both this video is people always see you or me or Joseph or others, right, in social media, and then they indirectly, in a way, we project this wrong sense, right?
True.
But what they see in social media is only 5% of what we all do, right? There's this 95% behind it, which is tough, which is hard work, which is constantly pushing and doing something new, right?
Yeah.
So I think people should not get scared of seeing this.
They really
video,
should.
But
I hope that this helps them think of things that they didn't realize were important.
Yeah.
And that's the ongoing rally back at PEP. If Arjun, Joe and I are talking, the real concern there is that, how do we educate people of the realities of running a creative business in a market that has already got lots of players in it, where uniqueness is not because you quit your job. Nobody cares anymore. You tell me you quit your job, I'm like, okay, I know 10 other people who quit their jobs. So why should I care about you? So these are the things that I wish you would focus on if you're quitting your job today. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, true. So
tell me like 5 good things about wedding photography. This is a good time to like take a break and talk something positive instead of going all this. So what do you love about what has it given you in your life?
See, one thing I was sitting in a window seat, corner cabin in a rainy Seattle, like just 8-9 years ago.
Sure.
Doing my IT thing, right? Like what it has given me is it's just amazing. It's a journey where I've got access to some amazing people, got some amazing friendships, met some interesting people, and traveled so many places. And of all the things, right, there's the satisfaction of what I love to do, the satisfaction of what I get out of it, right? Like even the Sony video I was mentioning. See, I am in the crux of that moment, right? I'm in the middle of that some important moment, and everybody else is watching behind me. That gives a kick. And also not only that, right? Like there's so many photographers shooting the same event, same things that I'm shooting, just around me, above me, below me. But the kick that you get out of doing something that nobody else has done just around you excites me, right? Like that kick is why I do wedding photography. And also this journey has given me a way to inspire so many people, give back so many things for the photography community, and these are something that I love, and that is why I'm doing it.
Excellent.
What about you?
I think one of the big things for me is that all credit to my parents for putting us through the specific years of college that we did, and to the kind of college we went to. Literally, my mom filled out my MBA application because she was like, "It's a good college, you should go there." And thanks to God, I ended up going there. So it felt like a lot of these things were planned by other people for me. It feels like, when I talk to a lot of wedding photographers who are entrepreneurs now, it feels like this is the one big decision that you've taken in your adult life outside of your marriage. This is the one call you took by yourself. And you said, I will plant a flag here and I will hope it flies, right? And the fact that you're able to take that risk, take that chance, take that decision with your life, I think it's a very, very unique thing. And to have gotten to experience that is a blessing. Honestly, to have gotten to experience it positively as well. Lots of negatives blended with the positives, but the overarching thing is that it's a positive thing. That in your lifetime, at this age, you're able to experience the joy of taking an adult decision by yourself for your life. And if you're in that phase where you're trying to figure this out, and if this is for you, and if this is the kind of thing that energizes you, you should look at it, and you should look at it hard, right?
Yeah, very true. So now let's get into somebody who's got into it, who's been doing it, how to build a brand for their clients, like how to get to the next stage, or how to build a good brand for their clients. What will be your advice for them?
So we were having a discussion earlier. For those who are watching this on camera, I'm currently at Studio A's office in Chennai. It's a beautiful space, lovely. I mean, if Amar is giving tours of this place, maybe people should come over to Mylapore and check out the place, right? So we were sitting here in one of the breakout areas, and we were just talking, and this discussion had come up with regard to building a brand and whether it is about building it in social media, real media, what media, is it about the logo, what is it about really? I have a few thoughts about that, contrarian views, really, because I think a lot of us get sucked into this idea of building a brand, as if we are Pepsi or Coke. As if the reason I say this is that there's a big difference between Pepsi and Coke and us. What is the difference? They have huge amounts of money. And especially if you're starting out today, like this year, or you started 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago also, how much money do you have for marketing? So all my MBA textbooks and all my 8 years of experience in marketing all led to one thing, that you need to have money to create a marketing campaign, to create a brand. Now, in this case, when you have to be an entrepreneur with zero money and you have to market something, where do you start? And I think if we start with the same fundamentals, saying just because Pepsi has a good looking logo, color scheme, oh man, back in the day when we started, I had suggestions from our own team saying we should have a color scheme for the company. Everything should match. Is that the brand? Because that's what marketing theory tells you. You should have all colors matching. You should have like good looking logo. You should have ad campaign, Instagram ad campaign, Facebook ad campaign, this campaign, that campaign. What else? They'll tell you the website should look snazzy, you should do this, you should do that, all of that stuff. Turns out when you don't have money, none of this is even possible. Forget about whether it's relevant or not, it's not possible. So what are we talking about? That's one part. The second is, if you have to really build a brand and you were to go back to when you were Amar Ramesh in 2010, did you have a snazzy logo? Did you have an ad campaign? Did you have marketing theory books, positioning, STP, all that stuff? Were you doing all that?
No.
Or were you doing the one thing that I find successful wedding photographers have done in the first few years of their career and throughout, which is to make sure that they've built great relationships with clients.
Nice.
Which is to ensure that the service they give is the brand itself. It's not the photographs you make, it's part of the story. It's the service and the relationship that you build, that is your brand. And that's free. Can you imagine the advantage to all of you who are watching this, who want to quit and start or who have just started, and you're like, where's my budget for building a relationship? You have the budget, it's 0 rupees. It's in the personality that you bring to the table, from when you answer an inquiry to how you do the negotiation to how you meet with the client to actually prep them for the wedding day, how you handle yourself on the wedding day, how professionally and how well you handle yourself, and how much you intend to be a part of their celebration and not apart from it, right? And then when you want to close the thing, how much care you put into closing it. Now I come at this discussion not as someone who's had a run rate of 100, right?
We all have to understand that. Yes.
You have to understand that I'm coming to this discussion with the idea that my run rate is less than perfect. But I know for a fact that if it was perfect, my brand would be even stronger. And the only reason the brand is where it is today is not because of our social media presence or 200,000 followers or 500,000 followers. Those things are good. We'll talk about social media in a bit. But what's even better is if your clients are your ambassadors.
Yes, and so many times we are forgetting that we are in a marketplace in weddings where other people come. They have kids who are getting married. They have families who want portraits. There are so many things, so many business come out of it, right? Can you become their friends? Can you dress well? Can you be punctual? Can you be disciplined? Many times when you say goodbye to the family and couple, right? They say, you guys did an amazing job. But I'm like, you have not seen our pictures.
Correct.
Right? Their friends come and ask for cards. Hey guys, we were watching you. You guys did an amazing job. You didn't disturb us. You were like almost invisible. There's so many things that you can do in that marketplace. That is a wedding, right? So, and like you said, those were the things that pushed us to the next level and next level, right? Every 6 months, one client pushed us to the next level. Another client came in and then pushed us to the next level. So it is the clients and it's how you behave as a person, what are you giving as a personality is much more valuable than Instagram ads and Facebook ads and all that.
And that's even, like you said, even before the photos come, people know whether they want to work with you or not. And that's your brand building, right? Until you have money, hopefully, where you can do other things.
And people who are watching this have to understand this starts from the first call that you receive and ends at the last deliverable that you, in terms of album or pictures you have given, and then sign off this project. And not only that, beyond that, like how are you remembering them for their anniversaries, calling them, taking them out for dinners, become their friends.
Yeah.
You know, they become their champions, like you said. So since we are getting in a little closer to the social media, let's talk about social media. How do you think how do you think social media is important as a wedding photography business, and what are the things that you should do and you should not?
I think the interesting thing about social media is the word social and media lead us to believe that this is like a media channel, right? That we're using this to promote ourselves or talk about ourselves. That can work on your personal profile. You want to talk about your achievements or your things that you want to celebrate, your big anniversaries, the big important moments in your life. That's all good. As a brand, should you be talking about those things on social media is a question, because I find that the better way to read social media is to think of it as social proof. That is, that your Instagram account is not there to directly drive business. It's there to validate your existence to
Yes.
someone that you meet,
Yes.
or someone that has heard of you. Let's say you're my cousin and you tell me I should look at X business for wedding photography. I don't know who X business is. I just got a great referral. Now what do? The next thing that I do is I go on Instagram and I look you up.
Yes.
When I look, I look up X photography. When I look up X photography, what I need to see there is proof that this company does great work, that this company has been in existence for a while, that it is consistent, that there is a post from yesterday, not from April 2018, right? That there is a vision here that I am able to understand just from this,
Yes.
and that you have experience in shooting in different places or with different cultures, etc., etc. So your Instagram feed or your website becomes that social proof that yes, other people have interacted with this person. I am not taking that risk with that first wedding or whatever it is, right? When you think of it as social proof, a lot of the other noise goes away. They're like all of this has to be curated to perfection. It's as a photographer from Singapore told me, your Instagram account is your shop front. It's literally your shop front, and if you are running a store and someone walks in, they shouldn't be seeing photos of your breakfast or hashtag wanderlust or pretty sky today, it is raining here, then next wedding photo
Your
or something
pets.
else. Your pets, your loves, your interests, all that has a different space.
Yes.
You create a different space for it. But if you want to build a brand online, then you think of social media as social proof. Make sure that it is built to that spec. Is that
True, very true. And it's like there's a term called thumb stopper, right?
Mhm.
All your projects, your decision of hiring is left to 3 or 4 scrolls.
Yeah.
Like somebody is coming and saying, hey, I heard this person is very good, but I want to validate that. I want to go to his Instagram or Facebook and just scroll through 3-4 times, and it has to be a thumb stopper.
Yeah.
Your account should stop my thumb and say, oh, this is good. He has done some things. He has traveled. He has done so many weddings.
Yeah.
Right? So is your account like that? Is your account clean? Is your account consistent? Is your account having updates, very frequently?
Yeah.
Is something that you have to ask. That is definitely a thing. And also, as a photographer, right, from a photographer's angle, I also see so many people using Instagram and Facebook not only as a social media, as an educational tool, which is a very wrong thing to do, right? One of the best things that happened for us is we learned photography before social media came into
Yeah.
where we were in Flickr, where only photographers were the users, right? It
Yeah.
was a social media for photographers where we were talking about color, contrast, all the photographical terms.
Yeah.
Now it's just everybody, and you get validation from everyone, and you're so happy when you get 10 likes. You're like, oh, I'm done, right? So you're not going beyond social media. So if you want to improve your craft as a photographer, you have to go beyond social media. You have to go beyond and see who else is out there, whose work is something that you would like to get inspired from. And that I feel is not happening now. They're stopping with their Instagram because they got into this habit. So one of the things that I do is personally, because I also am addicted to this, scrolling habit, I keep my social media very clean. I follow only people that put out amazing work, good stuff, positive information, motivational stuff, right? So even though I'm wasting my time, I'm putting all the good things in my mind. I'm
Yeah.
blacklisting my Instagram and Facebook accounts. So that is working positively for me, because I believe what goes in comes out as your work, right? So put good stuffs in, so good things will come out. Right, so we spoke about social media. What do you think? I think we are already going beyond time. What is the one thing you will say? What is the one big advice that you'll give for wedding photography businesses or wedding photographers out there?
If there's one thing I want to tell wedding photographers, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're a second shooter, whether you are someone in a large team or is running a team or has got some responsibility there, is that this field is something, even if you have a 2-year photography degree or a 5-year photography degree, learning cannot stop. It cannot end. And you have to constantly keep learning. And it's a struggle with the challenges of all the other stuff that you need to handle, especially if you're taking on the challenge of building a team, or if you're a freelancer and is taking on large contracts. You're saying, I'll do all of it as a freelancer. Learning takes a backseat. And then you supplement it or you supplant it with all this stuff about learning from Instagram influencers. Somebody did a magmod trick, somebody did a light painting trick. That looks interesting, I learned that. In this, you tend to lose out on focusing on learning as a constant. That you need to keep polishing your skills, that you need to keep adding new things to your vocabulary, not just as tips and tricks, but in depth, like understanding light, understanding posing, understanding a whole bunch of other stuff. That's just the photography art part of it, or art of the craft. There's a craft aspect to it. How many wedding photographers know their cameras in and out? Do you really understand what each of those terms means in your camera? People tend to put it down as a geeky or a nerdy thing to do, but I would expect a professional to know the tools that they're using. I would expect you to know everything about your weapon, right? And that's true of people outside the direct photography sphere as well. People who are working in sales or in marketing in the photography space, or people who are working in client servicing, in delivery, in editing, they need to know the ins and outs. And the amount of stuff that you know is like this. There's an iceberg under the water of all the stuff you don't know. And if you were to focus on that, then the thing that Bill Gates said, which I just recently read, then it becomes true. That is that we tend to overestimate what you can do in the next 2 years, and we tend to underestimate how much we can achieve in a 10 years span. I think it encapsulates a lot of our current state of mind when it comes to whether we are about to start a business, or even if you have started it and we're 3, 4, 5, 6 years into it, right? He said that we tend to normally overestimate how much we can achieve in the next 2 years. Which I think is very true, because a lot of us have real high expectations from ourselves. I want to rule the world. Of course you can rule the world and you should want to, that's up to you. But can you do it in 2 years? Maybe not. The second part of the quote reads that we tend to underestimate how much we can achieve in 10 years. Which is the compounding effect of time, right? And you are literally able to get more and more benefits as you spend more and more time. I love the quote. It made me stop and stare at it, because it tells me that not only should you not expect to see the world come to you in the first 2 years, you should also not give up before the 10th year. If you're doing the right things in a disciplined manner, things will get added over time, which is also very useful, because when you quit your job or when you want to start this business, you will instantly have a longer time frame than 2 years. You won't start thinking profit in 2 years, you'll start thinking value in 10 years, you'll start thinking like strong roots in 20 years that you can leave behind, etc. And those things don't happen if you start focusing on your next year or the next 2 years.
And also recently I saw something. The 10 years is not actually, when you think of this, right, I'll do this in 10 years. It's not actually 10 years. It's every day, 365 days times 10, right? So every day you have to do something, right? That accounts to this 10. Every day is important. So what you're making what changes you're doing every day adds up to this 10 years and 2 years, right?
It doesn't happen on it's not like a college project, right?
True.
9 years, 364 days, like, oh, tomorrow is the 10th year.
So that's very important. So let's go to this last part of our discussion. What do you think? How do you think this future will be for wedding photography business?
We were discussing this the day we saw that Google had released Night Sight in the Pixel phones, where what they're essentially doing is they're taking 64 frames and they're blending it together to give you that particular long exposure feel, handheld, without having to use a tripod. So when you see that, there's wonder and there's awe in terms of how they've managed to crack. As someone said from The Verge, one of the writers that I follow today, he had tweeted about it. He was saying, we have to praise not the machine that is doing this, but the human team that managed to take their expectations, put it into code to explain to the machine that you could do it this way. Now, if they could tell the machine that it needed to do this and they could get this out, well, it's not too far away when technology can take away a large part of what we do as wedding photographers. A large part of these are technical challenges, right? 6 or 8 years ago, in 2010, cameras couldn't do what they're doing today. With regard to your...
Just imagine, 8 years ago, if you want to do a panoramic shot,
can you imagine?
You have to put your camera on the tripod, take a shot, and 30% of the shot should be in the shot. Then you bring it back to the computer, put it in the computer, and stitch it, right? When you're stitching, the computer basically just hangs, right? Like you cannot do anything. You just have to go out, come back in. And after that, you'll have to crop it properly, put all the effects and all that. But now with your phones, like 6 or 7 years old.
If you're one of those people who shot a panorama like this, you would know that even if you've locked all exposure and everything, there will still be a difference. When you stitch the image together.
Because the sun might be in one place.
So you have to actually figure that bit out to actually smooth the exposure out. The number of people today who shot panoramas without ever knowing that that's a problem is amazing. Because in the next 8 years, some of the things that we take for granted today, that you need a machine to process images together, to take long exposures, to stack, like the Sony cameras using Play Memories app, you can actually take 64 to 128 frames and it will stitch it in camera and give you a stacked image, which used to be something that you needed a powerful high-end machine to do all this. So long story short, technology is going to come in and take away some of these things that we think are the purview or the magic behind photography. They're going to make these accessible, they're going to make them commonplace, they're going to let anyone who can afford a OnePlus 6 to be able to do the same night sight magic that Google is doing today, which used to take a whole lot of effort today or yesterday, right? Then what happens to wedding photography companies? In this, I think, and it's my bias and that's my understanding of this, is that we will all end up becoming service brands. Because the key part of what we do is this relationship management in terms of building a relationship and maintaining it and making sure that we ease life for the bride and groom and the families on their biggest day. Unless technology is coming in and taking away all the pieces that we handle, not just the fancy photography tips and tricks that they're able to deal with right now, we will end up becoming service brands. And if that's true, then in the next 10 years, all of us should be working on making sure that we serve better.
True.
All of us should be working on figuring out what the pain points are and how we can solve them, how we can crash our delivery times, how we can, if tech is going to be able to do this much in 8 years time, it will automatically cull your data, it will do all that stuff. Then what can you do? What service can you provide that will help that client have a better experience on her wedding day?
Yes.
That's the question I think.
So I'm asking myself, 8 years ago or 10 years ago, I was an IT guy, right? Like now I'm a photographer. 8 years down the line, I don't know what I am, right? But I'm always amarramesh. I'm going to work on that amarramesh part, right? I'm going to make it better, make him better, make him a better leader, better team member, better, service provider. So automatically things will come into place. That's how I see it. So thank you so much for watching this. Please let us know through comments how you liked it and what are the things that we can improve and what are the things you would like more information on. Thank you so much for watching this again. It was a wonderful experience. Thanks, Joshua.
Thanks.